welcome to Music Meltdown, Idiosyncratic Idiots Music Meltdown, our Thursday night live with Timothy Lee, that's me, and the unforeseen Jesy Jones. Say hello.
Hi, everybody. Welcome.
And the musical mascot's Boots behind the hat. She's got everything under control. Hope everybody's doing well tonight. We're trying to get a little organized here. We're obviously clearly not organized, so hope you're all having a good evening and you're safe and well. You're all having a good evening and you're safe. Alrighty, I think we got it. As you can see, I'm sitting next to the mediocre looking invisible woman. Like, you gonna turn that on or what? Or you're not gonna do that? I mean, you don't have to if you don't want to. There's nobody here but me, so. Hope everybody's doing well tonight. You're having a good December 12th, 2024 night. It's a winter wonderland here in Pennsylvania, Northwest Pennsylvania. We're going to talk about the great, the legendary, the one and only Lynyrd Skynyrd tonight. We'll give a chance to some people to come aboard. And so how was your week, Ms. Jesy Jones?
Very good. How was your week?
Beautiful. 50 degrees on Monday.
It was warm. Then the next day it was cold, freezing cold.
Tonight we're
And
powered
it
by
snowed.
Colombian coffee. She's got some wild berry zinger tea. Show it to the folks. A double bag or two, so she's going all
Little
out.
celestial seasonings. Is that what it is?
Yes, it is.
So because it is, what is it, 16 degrees right now?
16 degrees, I believe. Maybe
16,
15 or 16 degrees here in beautiful Northwest Pennsylvania. We hope you're all having a good evening.
Fahrenheit. Is this charged? Okay. Someone's here. Oh, we're here.
We're here. We're just going to give a little time.
Welcome, Tim and Jesy. Nice to see you.
We're having a great evening. I had a great time this week investigating. That's not the right word. Researching Lynyrd Skynyrd and some of the great stories. And there is some really amazing stories of this band. And, it's a huge history. They've been around for many, many years, and there's so many different eras of it, and especially since the plane crash, and then the reunion, and then unfortunately all the original members having passed away, yet they're still out on the road. So, we're not going to go in that deep. I think what I'd like to do is just start from the first record in 1973. In 1973, and then go till the first reunion tour in '87 with Johnny Van Sant singing for his brother. So, what else is new in your world, Ms. Jones?
Well,
welcome to whoever joined us. It's Timothy Lee, your host from Music Meltdown with the great Jesy Jones. and the musical mascot Boots right over the shoulder, keeping us under control. We're talking about Lynyrd Skynyrd tonight. Welcome to everybody who's joined. Drop us a line in the chat where you're from. It's a beautiful night here. We're in Northwest Pennsylvania, and we're talking about the great Lynyrd Skynyrd tonight. So let's go back all the way to the beginning, way back in the day. They really formed informally in 1964, and they called themselves. Hi, Richard Sarver from.
Well, hi, Richard Sarver.
From
Welcome.
AUS. Good to have you there. You made it. Well done. Well done, sir. Are you nice and warm wherever you're at in this world? I'm not sure what that AUS means, but I'm going to let it go unnamed for the appropriate reasons. But we're going to go back. Thanks for joining us, Rick. We appreciate it, man. It's glad to have you aboard. I think this is your maiden voyage on the magical mystery tour that is the Jesy and Tim show.
Continue on, fine.
So, we're gonna go again. We're talking about Lynyrd Skynyrd tonight, and we're gonna go back to 1964 in Jacksonville, Florida, and they originally started when they were obviously in the very infancy as the name of My Backyard. That was the name of the band. The original people in that in 1964 was Ronnie Van Zant, Gary Rossington, Alan Collins, Larry Junstrom, and Bob Burns. This is an enchanted moment. Thanks, Rick. I'm glad you're enjoying it. I'm glad you're enjoying this enchanted moment here in beautiful Northwest, freezing cold Pennsylvania. So again, we're talking about Are you done? Hey Frank, how you doing tonight?
Hi,
Good to have you,
Frank.
Frank. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate
Welcome.
it. Glad to have you. So we're talking about Lynyrd Skynyrd tonight. Welcome to all those who have joined us. My name is Timothy Lee from Music Meltdown, and this is the great Jesy Jones and the musical mascot Boots behind us. We're talking about Lynyrd Skynyrd tonight. So we're going to go back. In 64, they formed as My Backyard with Ronnie Van Zant, Gary Rossington, Alan Collins, Larry Junstrom, and Bob Burns. They went through several names between My Backyard and some of the names that was in 1964. They were all teenagers at the time. Some of the names that they went through before they settled on the great Lynyrd Skynyrd.
Appio says, hey, y'all, good evening. Good evening, Appio.
Hey, good evening. How are you doing tonight? Glad to have you again. Thanks for joining us. I thought I wrote it down here, but maybe I didn't, or maybe I lost where I'm at. My Backyard was the first name of the band. Then they had Conquer the Worm, another great name from the 60s, the Noble Five, and in 1967, they started using the name 1%. And they stuck with 1% all the way up until 69 when they came up with the name Lynyrd Skynyrd, which we'll get into. But the interesting thing about when they were using 1%, hey, how you doing, young man? Great to have you. Thanks for having us. Thanks for joining us tonight. And we're trying to keep warm. It's an awful cold night here, 15 degrees right now, and we are freezing. But when they started using 1% in 67, the great Lynyrd Skynyrd, the reason that they decided to change the name is because Ronnie Van Zant was quoted as saying they were touring the South and all the small clubs in the Chitlin circuit and all the towns in the South. And he was getting tired and taunted with a lot of the crowd saying, you're 1% talented. And he was like, all right, that's enough of this, man. We got to figure out another name. Now, I'm sure you all know of how they got the name Lynyrd Skynyrd, but let's go through the story. For those, if anybody doesn't know, let's tell it really quick. We're not going to spend a lot of time. I'm sure if any of you know this music or enjoy this band, you know the story. They were all in Robert E. Lee High School in Jacksonville, Michigan. They had a PE teacher whose name was Lynyrd, spelled traditionally Skynyrd, Skinner. Now, this was, the late 60s, the hippie movement, all the radicals. They were a bunch of heathen, long haired Southern boys. And the PE teacher, Lynyrd Skynyrd, was a flat topped, kind of straight laces guy. And he used to always tell them and get mad at them saying they needed to cut their hair. And so that's how, I'm not exactly sure who came up with the LYNYRD name, but that's how they settled on Lynyrd Skynyrd. That was the story behind it. And in 69, they became Lynyrd Skynyrd. Yes, I don't know if, Frank, I don't know if Jesy Jones watches the Animal or National Geographic. I'm not really sure. She watches a lot of You Got It, YouTube. So I'm not sure, Frank. You'd have to ask her, but she's off set right now. She's preoccupied looking at her own beauty. So I don't know, Frank. You'll have to ask her. I'll try to get you an email, just Frank.
We'll link one to the channel.
We'll link one to the channel
when we get one.
Okay, Frank. Thank you. Yeah, ask her again when she comes back on. So in 69, they take the Lynyrd Skynyrd name, and things really start to move in a forward direction. Now, it wasn't until the first record came out, which was named pronounced Lynyrd Skynyrd, came out in 1973. And I'm sure some of you know, but one of the main guys that really brought this thing, they were at a club called Pinocchio's in Atlanta, Georgia. And the great Al Cooper from Blood, Sweat, and Tears, which, obviously was a very popular 60s and early 70s band, he was there, and he knew immediately that these guys had talent. And you also have to remember, from all the Hell House days, which we'll get into, but they were pretty polished. They've been around. They've been doing the club circuit. They've been playing. And it also got them their first big break in 1973, which was opening up for The Who on that tour in 73, which was huge. And by all reports, they were just killing it during that tour. So Al Cooper comes aboard. They sign with Sounds of the South Records, which was a subsidiary of MCA Records, and they put out Pronounced Lynyrd Skynyrd. I'm gonna list some songs from each record as we go through the first 6 or the first 5, but I'll be honest with you. Everybody knows Freebird. Everybody knows Sweet Home Alabama. I did put a couple in there that I know most people know, but I tried to go with a little deeper cuts because, obviously I love that music, and I know if you love Lynyrd Skynyrd, you'll love that as well. But I try to pick like 3 tracks from each record, and I try to go a little bit deeper than just the standard one. And the thing about that first record that I just love, because it's an amazing way to start your first record. By the way, that record was recorded in Doraville, Georgia, at Studio One in Doraville, and obviously it had Tuesday's Gone, Simple Man, Freebird.
Oh, that was a good one.
But the one track that stands out is the opening track, I Ain't the One. And if that doesn't sum up what Ronnie Van Zant was about and what his songwriting stood for, I don't know how you can go wrong with that. That to me is one of my favorite Lynyrd Skynyrd songs. So it's a crazy. I mean, that is amazing. You know. So and I think it's pretty self-explanatory in uh, how Ronnie began to write. Have I ever owned or ridden a motorcycle? I did way back when I was a teenager. I want to say I think I got like a Yamaha 250 or maybe 350 Enduro that I bought in Sacramento, California, and then made the grand mistake of driving it from Sacramento to Reno or Sparks, Nevada, where I was living at the time. And it was a harrowing experience, one in which I'm lucky I survived. So, but I haven't really. Right now, I just own an electric scooter. So, no real. Put it back to where it was. No real. Not a real like serious motorcycle or anything. Okay. We're having a little technical difficulties here. I don't know if it's the weather or not, but just hang on there with us. So not really much. I'd love to have owned a motorcycle. I know a lot of people who do. It looks like it would be a cool thing, and obviously a more in tuned. I know, but it's more in tuned way to be on the road when you're riding a motorcycle. I think it's interesting that. Yeah, I bet. And the thing that I love about motorcycle now that we're getting a little bit on that is that if and I know you're all familiar with Neil Peart, the drummer, the R.I.P. Neil, the former drummer of Rush who passed away here recently. Um, well, not all that recently, but he was a huge motorcycle rider. He had that really nice GSR or that BMW 1100 that he toured the world. I mean, literally drove the wheels off that thing. And he says in some of his prose writing that he was way more connected to the road when he was on a motorcycle than in a car or in a bus or something like that. And I could see that. I mean, this is kind of silly to say, but even in my which okay, but it's making everything all crazy. It's like getting dark and light and dark.
Keep going. You're doing good.
I know, but don't do that.
Oh, we're getting there. We're getting there.
What are you? Okay. Jesse's playing around with something on the TV, and I don't know. So I apologize for the lighting that is coming in and out, and I'm getting darker, and maybe that's better. Maybe not being able to see me is a better thing. I don't know. But tomorrow is Friday the 13th because it's winter. There's a small Friday the 13th motorcycle gathering in the summer on Friday the 13th. Port Dover, Ontario can get up to, wow, that's crazy, 100,000 people on cycles. And that's Port Ontario, Canada, Port Dover, Ontario, Canada, correct?
Wow, that's cool.
That's awesome, man. That's crazy. That's the real deal.
That's Mickey's going.
It's in July.
Oh, in July.
The 13th motorcycle gathering in the summer on Friday the 13th.
Oh. I guess it would make sense to do it now.
But so that first song, the opening track on the first record, I think says it all for me. That hooked me. That's always been one of my favorite songs. So that was in 1973. They go on to open up for the Who, and things really start moving forward. That was in 1972 that Al Cooper saw them at Pinocchio's in Atlanta, and then obviously into '73 they record the first record, and there we go. The rocket ship gets ready to launch. Uh, and they were on that, that was that time of the music industry where they were doing, tour, record, tour, record, tour, record, tour. And basically it was one every year from 73, 74, 75, 76, and 77, including the live album, One More for the Road from the Fox Theater in Atlanta. Do you know if Eddie is going to join the live chat tonight? Because I want to say thank you from the last time that we chatted about sandwiches making for the homeless. Oh, that's very nice of you, Frank. I don't know if Eddie's going to be with us tonight or not.
I hope he does.
I hope he does, Frank. I'm not really sure. I sure hope so. So again, they were churning. The machine started in '73. They'd already been doing this for a while now, 5-6 years solid, and then the real business starts, and this is when. And I think going back to that same thing is on the second record, which was 1974, Second Helping, the song to me that always brings it home, and you can see where they're starting to realize that this is a big business and that there's a lot of things at stake here, is Ronnie is involved in writing Working for MCA. And he's like, you ain't going to get no star. Pay me my money or you ain't going to get no star. I mean, he already at that point was pretty wise into, I ain't no pencil pusher and I ain't no honky tonk queen. He's talking about getting paid. And so obviously at that point, right from jump, they realized that there was a lot of things going on as far as the money end of the business. The lineup for that first record was really interesting. So Leon Wilkerson was not, he laid a bunch of the parts down for the bass on that first record, except a few and that's where they bought Ed King. Now Ed King, who eventually ended up playing guitar, but on that first tour or on that first record had played, did the bass solo section for Simple Man, as well as came up with that bass line. He came in to fill in and play bass. And then when Leon Wilkerson came back to the band, then Ed King became the guitarist. And then we got the classic 3 guitar attack. And obviously it was always interesting because Gary Rossington and Alan Collins, they played Gibsons and Ed King played a Fender Strat. So you had the 2 different, major guitar companies and the 2 major different sounds. So, and that was the foundation of the thing. That was their thing. You had Alan Collins playing that Explorer, just with the big hair jumping all around. You had Gary Rossington playing that Les Paul, and then you had Ed King playing the Strat, the Tobacco Burst Strat. So the interesting thing, if you're not familiar with Lynyrd Skynyrd, was that Ed King was originally in the Strawberry Alarm Clock, and they had already had a hit, and that's how he kind of came into the band. But he was not anything like these crazy redneck, for lack of a better term, Southern boys. He was from LA and really from a different, whole part of a different country. Was not his thing. So that led to some interesting stories. And I think one of the great, by the way, I'd also like to give a shout out to, and rest in peace, John Brusha. He was a production manager and a kid that I went to high school with at Lyons Township High School in LaGrange, Illinois, who was a production manager for the movie Freebird, the movie. And I spoke at length with him at, I believe it was at the Kingston Mine Blues Club in Chicago the last time I saw him. And he spoke quite a bit about all the interviews he did with Gary Rossington and some of the the surviving members. This was in the late '90s, I think. I think that movie came out in '96. Yeah, there you go. Exactly. Who cannot remember Columbia House Records 12 for a cent, man? I mean, I can't believe how many times I did that, and I don't know if I even paid the bill. But hey, what are you gonna do, man? You got 12 and you waited and you did it again. So, but I think I had some of those on 8 tracks too. I remember my parents having a Chevy Malibu station wagon with the wood paneling on the sides and an 8 track,
Well, what was 12%? What was
12 8 tracks.
Where did you get it from?
Columbia House Records.
Oh, you ordered them?
Yeah, they would send you this card in the mail, and then it would say choose 12 records for a cent, and then every month they would send you a record that you had to buy. So many, it was like a subscription thing.
Oh, you got an extra one?
But if you didn't send that card back, then you got hooked for whatever they sent you.
How did it work?
You would get 12 records for a penny.
Oh,
and then they would
okay.
send you something every month, and you had to send this card back, or otherwise you would get charged for that record, whether you wanted it or not.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there you go. A Ford LTT wagon. Country Squire. Yeah, I remember those. But that was great. They had an 8-track player in there, and I do remember having an Allman Brothers. My parents weren't into that kind of my parents weren't into that kind of music. We were listening. My parents would listen to like Chicago, and some of the Sticks, who by the way were from the town. Well, 2 of the guys lived in the town that I grew up in southwest suburbs of Chicago. So they would listen to that just because they were known around town. James Young, by the way, was the guy that lived in my town. And the great story that I'll forget, it's weird. I don't know why I'm bringing this up. It's just the station wagon got me. Is that he used to have a gold record in his window in the front of his house. And I used to deliver paper and go like, what is this crazy guy with his gold window? Gold record in his window. It was because he was with Styx, the guitar player for Styx. But yeah, I definitely remember Columbia House, man. I kind of wish, well, you don't need it anymore now. You can just go get a streaming service and you have it all right in your hands anyway. So
Do they make station wagons anymore?
yeah, they do.
Do they?
Gene Tracy truck stop tapes on 8-track. There you go. Styx, Beatles. Yes, my dad listened to Styx, Beatles, Jim Croce, and lots of Jim Croce.
Yeah.
That was another one, Jim Croce for sure. My parents were very straight-laced, so there weren't really like the Beatles and the Who and the Stones. That was bad boy rock.
They listened to Jim Croce?
Yes, Jim Croce.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of who. I strictly remember a lot though. Is like Chicago with like 25 to 6 to 4, Saturday in the Park, and all that. That was played quite a bit in that station wagon. And also, growing up in Chicago, we had some great radio stations, XRT and even WLS, which wasn't going all the talk radio at that time in the middle of the night, and some of the best blues music, the Loop. I was really blessed because, and I don't know about you guys out there, Harry Chapin. There you go. That's another one. Oh, not Al Stewart, but
Harry Chapin.
Yeah, Harry Chapin was like Cats in the Cradle, right? Right, Rick? Wasn't that Cats in the Cradle? I'm pretty sure that was. Bad Out of Hell. The great Makeout album, for sure. Paradise by the Dashboard Lights. No doubt about it. What was that girl's name? What was the girl's name in Bad Out of Hell in the video? That sang on that song. Did you say you got the snow at, unless I'm looking at it wrong, but yeah, we got quite a bit of snow last week.
Yep.
Last week, Frank, on Thursday, and then oddly enough, on Monday of this week and Tuesday it was like 50 degrees, and now it's all gone, and now it's 15 degrees. So
Yeah, last Thursday
we're doing the roller coaster thing.
Last Thursday was a complete blizzard, so we couldn't get to Wi-Fi, unfortunately.
Hey Chico's best one was the taxi. There you go, Rick. There you go. For everybody out in the chat, what's a Lynyrd Skynyrd song that, I mean, outside of, and please don't tell me Freebird or Sweet Home Alabama. We know that. What's a deep cut of Lynyrd Skynyrd that hits home with you? I'd love to know. But in '74 they put out Second Helping, and things really start going strong, man. They're really rolling now. Couple tracks off that. Obviously, I love working for MCA. I love that song. I love the way Ronnie puts the words together. He was a master wordsmith as far as writing lyrics, and it's pretty obvious if you listen to that music that he lived those words. It wasn't just he's trying to rhyme words or be slick. He was living it, and they were some hard living boys for sure. Not sure where the Chicos came from. Sorry. Tuesday's Gone. That's a great song for sure, Abio. I could not agree more. Tuesday's Gone is solid.
That was a really good
is
song.
A solid track.
It is a good song.
The other one that I think was a foreshadowing of where Lynyrd Skynyrd was going and what was to come on that Seconds Helping record was The Needle and the Spoon. I mean, let's not keep the cattle in the pasture. The reality was that they were hard charging. They were drinking hard and they were partying. What?
They had so many.
Oh yeah.
Hits.
Oh yeah.
It's
I mean,
incredible.
it's crazy how many great songs they had. But they definitely went down that path of living that rock and roll. Did you say you are located at or where you live where you got the snow? I live in the East Falls in Philadelphia, and we didn't get snow yet. It's mostly we live in the northwest corner of Pennsylvania, Frank. We're about 20 minutes from the New York state line, all the way 45 minutes east of Erie. So we're on like the west edge of the state and the north edge of the state, about 20 minutes from the New York state line, 45 minutes east of Erie. So, I think the Needle and the Spoon is always a big one for me because, again, it was, you could see where this train was heading. But going back to the beginning, one of the stories that I think is great, and I highly recommend that if you haven't seen it, I know it streams on Prime Video, but if you get a chance, watch the movie. It's called Freebird the Movie. That's one of my favorite. I mean, there's a bunch of documentaries about them out there, but that's one I really enjoy. And Gary Rossington tells a story about kind of how they all met, especially with Bob Burns. Is they were playing softball. Yep, tell me, son, why do you stand there crying? Exactly, Appio. That's no doubt about it, man. I mean, that's a strong piece of music. And in the world which we live in today, with all the substance abuse issues that going on, it's a pretty powerful statement. And again, I don't know what you think, Appio, or anybody else out there in the chat, Rick or Frank or Mr. guy from the comic book who I don't know how to pronounce it, but I remember you from the last time we went live, is I don't think you can write those words, and I don't think you can sing a song like that if that's not something you're heading down that road, or at least have experimented. So that's also part of the thing that always drew me to Lynyrd Skynyrd, and especially Ronnie Van Zant. I mean, you're talking about a 5 foot nothing guy who never wore shoes on stage, and he was afraid of nothing. And from and I'm sure that other people will say different things, but he was the leader of that band, and it was pretty obvious, and he demanded a lot from them. Um, but the story was at the back of the beginning where before they had even become my backyard, back in '64, they were playing baseball local in Jacksonville, and Ronnie Van Zant was batting, and uh, Bob Burns, the original drummer, was playing third base, and Ronnie cracks a line drive that just nails him in the head and knocks him out cold. And when he came to, they all ran over to him, and Gary Rossini was thinking Ronnie Van Zant had killed him, and when he came to, he was like, "Hey, aren't you a drummer? Hey, we should jam." And then they went to Bob Burns' parents' house, set up in their living room, and the first song that they played was "Time Is on My Side" by the Stones, and they were like, "Hey, this sounds good," and boom, the rest is history. I mean, obviously they went through a bunch of different people, but when I see ads for groups like Metallica and Whitesnake are touring, my first thoughts are they still alive? Yeah, well, that's a whole nother can of worms, because for sure, with Ricky Medlock being a quasi member at one point as a second drummer of Lynyrd Skynyrd, but they're out touring right now, and it's really nothing more than, I don't know, a tribute band, a cover band, because unfortunately there is no original members left. So I'd be interested to see what you guys think. To me, it's a little strange that they're still out there. I mean, I think they're going out next year with ZZ Top again. I think, I'm not exactly sure, but I think they're still gonna hit the road in 2025. So that is a strange. And I'll be honest with you, it's kind of the reason why I'd love to go to some concerts again, but if it's not the original members of the band, I don't really see the point in it, or at least a majority of the original members. I don't see why else I would want to go to see that. That's just me, though.
How
Obviously,
many original band members are there again left?
There none.
Oh, there's none left.
No, they're all dead.
Is it his brother doing it? No?
Well, Johnny. So he has two brothers, Donnie Van Zant, who was part of 38 Special. Yeah, exactly. No, you guys are exactly right. I agree with both those. Appio says, I saw them last in 9/17/2021. I thought they were a tribute band then. And then my man Mister says the Who have only two original members, same as the Rolling Stones. And it's exactly right. And I don't know how you feel. I just don't know if I can legislate spending all the money that it costs to go to a concert these days to see that. I mean, I guess there is some intrinsic value and some nostalgic value, from our youth and stuff, but I don't know if I'd spend money on that. And I had a couple chances to go see some of these Lynyrd Skynyrd reunions. Exactly, Rick. Rick Sarver says, "Yeah, you might as well be seeing the cover band," and I agree with that. I mean, I don't. It just doesn't.
Yeah,
it just doesn't make a lot.
That's a good point.
It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So, what are your thoughts?
That Rick made. That's a good point. You might as well be seeing the cover band.
Why don't you tell everybody what you're looking up on? Go ahead. We're gonna take a short dive into the brain of Jesy Jones as she's looking up. I look over on the.
We're on the corner. We're in the corner.
She's got it minimized and she's looking up Kopernik's quail questions through AI. So, welcome to my world, folks. The producer, director, chief overall brains of the operation, and she's not even paying attention to the conversation. So. Pray for me, folks, please. Now you see all the lines in my face and the gray beard. There you go. But it is an interesting thing, and that's one that that's why I didn't. I mean, I think you have to talk about it, but I didn't really want to go in deep into like the current part of Lynyrd Skynyrd because, and I mean, they're still making records. They've made a ton of records since that first reunion in '87. So, but let's go back to. So I love that story about Ronnie, hitting Bob Burns with a line drive, and then all of a sudden they're like, "Hey, let's go jam! Aren't you a drummer? Let's go jam!" So it's a classic. And they were some rough and tumble kids. Like I said, they were not on. Things were very segregated. It was the South, and they weren't always on the best side of the track. So, and that's what I love. I mean, there's so many. Come on, guys, all the great bands out of Jacksonville, Molly Hatchet, and 38 Special with Ronnie Van Zant's brother Donnie and Jeff, the Turbo Beasky, Jeff Carlisle, and Don Barnes, and the original Lynyrd Skynyrd bass player Larry Jungstrom ended up joining 38 Special, and so Ronnie K. Walker, or Greg T. Walker, who was the bass player, I believe, for Blackfoot with Ricky Medlock, was also played with them for a while. I mean, there's a lot of intertwining of a lot of guys in that Jacksonville area. I mean, it was a really big thing. So, that's also a great part of, and this is off the topic, but a friend of mine, which I highly recommend. He's a madman, but I highly recommend if you've not heard it. There's a podcast called The Rock and Roll Geek. His name is Michael Butler. He was a bass player for Exodus, Jet Boy. He's done some other. He has one of the best. I go out and look on YouTube for the Butlers and go out and look for the Butlers on YouTube and check some of their video out. Those guys are dynamite. But he's got a show called Rock and Roll Geek Show. It's a podcast.
The Butlers?
Yeah.
Plural?
Yes, because
they're brothers.
No, but it's all the guys in the band. Like, they all act like they're brothers. They're all the Butlers.
Oh, the band is called the Butlers?
Yes. Oh. And Michael plays bass for him. He's out of San Francisco, California. Look him up on YouTube. I shout out to Michael Butler and the Butlers. But he did an interview with Tom Warman, who was a famous producer, Ted Nugent. But he, and an AR guy, and he worked with Molly Hatchet, and he went in that interview with Michael Butler. I'll never forget this. He was talking about the first time that he worked with Molly Hatchet, and they were in New York City. And he said these dudes came in from Jacksonville with long hair, crazy eyes, and kind of had slept, and they're sleeping in the studio floor, and they're drinking and smoking pot, and he was like, what is going on here? And that's what that's the whole Jackson scene in a minute. And that's really when you get down and dirty for a while until we're talking, Steve Gaines comes in the band in '76. That's the way those guys were, man. From everything I've read and listening to John Brusher, my friend that was the production manager on that preview of the movie, and the interviews he did, these dudes were some rough rolling boys, and they weren't playing, and they were going deep, as the saying goes. I mean, they were charging hard, and they were fighting and drinking, and there was brawls everywhere they would go. So on this note, so we all know the story about Ed King. He was originally in the band. He was the third guitarist. In 1975, I believe. Let's see here. I can organize my notes. In 1975, he left the band and let's see.
Frank says, "Are you both ready for Christmas?" Frank, I am ready for Christmas pretty much because I don't really do a whole lot for Christmas, so it's really easy to get ready. Are you ready for Christmas, Frank?
Wow, Appio, that's a great show. 38 Special and the Outlaws in 81. Rest in peace, the great Huey Thomason. Boy, that's a strong bill, and that's right when 38 Special was really, I believe that was Wild Eyed Southern Boys, and boy, they were smoking right then. You know, the sad thing is about I don't know about you guys, but, and I know I'm getting off the, Kiss had a few good songs, but to me, they were more about merchandise. You can now buy a Kiss cup, and that is very true, and that's no doubt. They were the king,
Yeah, they were all about the money.
but they were definitely about merchandising and learning, how to profit from everything. Gene Simmons is the ultimate master at that. But boy, that show in '81, I saw 38 Special on on the Wild Eyed Southern Boys tour. That was '81. I'm not sure if it was with the Outlaws. I'd have to go back and check my records. I don't want to like just go off the top of my head. I saw the Outlaws as well, and then I saw Rockin' Rockin' Through the Night. That first time they came around, and then I saw them on Special Forces as well. Interestingly enough, about 38 Special is that Donnie Van Zant was kind of the face of the band, and they obviously used his last name to catapult it. But the reality is, if you go back, Don Barnes sang a lot of their hit songs, "Hold On Loosely," and a lot of the stuff that they were really famous for. That was not Donnie Van Zant singing. A shout out to Donnie Van Zant and Johnny Van Zant. If you guys haven't heard the Van Zant brothers band, it's just called Van Zant. They just put out a Christian record, right? They just released it called Always Look Up. Great record. Um, but the first two Van Zant records, I think it's just called Van Zant 1 and Van Zant 2. Those are great, great records. Kenny Wayne Shepherd does a sit in with them, some of the songs. Go out and check those out if you've never heard those records. Obviously, Johnny had his own solo band until he joined Lynyrd Skynyrd when they reunited in 1987. Randall King taking Alan Collins' place as he was in a wheelchair at that point. Um, uh, and Johnny Van Zant singing for his brother. And that's when they used to do Freebird, and he would just hang Ronnie's hat on the mic stand and then not sing the song, and they would just play it as a tribute to Ronnie. Uh, Pretty emotional. If you haven't seen that movie, it's or listened to that record, it's called "Southern by the Grace of God." That was the live record they did. There's a great, great version of "Coming Home" on that record. That was in 1987, 10 years after the crash, which we'll get to. Um, but so Ed, so 73 we have Pronounced by Lynyrd Skynyrd. 74 we have Second Helping. And then 75 rolls around and Nothing Fancy. And, some standout tracks from Nothing Fancy are another one of my favorite songs, which is called On the Hunt. I'm on the hunt. Da-na-na. It's a great riff. That's one of my favorite. That's a great song. I'm on the hunt. Saturday Night Special, another one. I remember that time. I think I don't know, 11 or 12 years old, and I remember hearing that on the radio, Saturday Night Special, and another great, Big Jim wasn't meant for fighting, and handguns ain't good for nothing. So that's another really, really great song. And then obviously another favorite, especially with who we'll get into, Cassie Gaines and the Honkettes, the backup singers. Dale Krantz, is Whiskey Rocker Roller. That's another classic Skynyrd song. And again, maybe not one of their most popular, but definitely part of the arsenal. And I'm trying to think of some of the great videos out there, but the video where they opened up for the Stones, I think it was a Some Girls tour at Nebworth in London. That's a great video, and then you can really see the power of them. And so,
Look how cute they are.
yeah. Hey everybody, Copernicus quails are very cute. Jesy Jones wants you to know. Show everybody.
Yeah, I would. Does it show it? Cute. They're so cute.
But so 75 things begin to turn a little bit, and let's get a little into the story. Oh, another great story I want to share with you about Ed King. We didn't really go into the Hell House, and so basically what it was they had this house in the swamps outside of Jacksonville, and it had no air conditioning. You know, it had really nothing. It was in the middle of nowhere. They took all the gear out there, and they literally lived out there. And from all reports, Ronnie was an absolute taskmaster. He wanted this music down. So really, when they went into Studio One in Doraville, Georgia, for that first record, pronounced Lynyrd Skynyrd, it was all mostly one takes, and they were in and out of there quickly because they'd been playing that music for years and they had it down stone cold. And it was all recorded live in one room, and that's why they're so magical. I mean, it just doesn't happen these days that way. So if you're not familiar with what the Hell House is and how it relates to Lynyrd Skynyrd, I suggest you do your own deep dive. I'm not an expert on it.
What's that? What's the Hell House?
I just told you about it. You have to pay attention, and maybe you'll know.
What is it?
Okay, so what it is before they got famous and signed to Sounds of the South, they had this cabin in the middle of swamps outside of Jacksonville, in the middle of nowhere. Might have been in Georgia, actually. I can't remember exactly where it was located, but they took all their gear out there and they literally lived out there. There was nothing, no, air conditioning, and they just played music for all day, all night, day after day. And Ronnie just whipped these guys and saying, let's go. And that's where he wrote a lot of stuff. And that's why when they went in the studio to cut the first record, Freebird was pretty much a done piece. And I mean, they had all this music down stone cold. Simple Man,
Wow.
Tuesday's Gone.
Was that before they got popular?
That was their first record.
Wow. So they were in the Hell House before.
Yeah, they weren't even signed to a record label at that point. They
Wow.
were just so, and that's the importance of, that's what makes 70s music and some of those early era bands where, it wasn't like when we heard it for the first time as teenagers, they were playing it for the first time. A lot of those bands, they had been playing that music for years, and it just got into our ear brains through the radio, I mean, so Green Cove Springs, Florida. That's correct. Thank you, Appio. You're correct. I knew I should have done a little more research into the Hell House, but it was Green Cove Springs, Florida. Thank you, young man.
Wow.
I appreciate it. And it's crazy story. And I mean, what they did with the hazing of Ed King, I believe it was Ed King when he joined the band, is they left him there overnight. All the other guys left, and they left him here. And he said he was hearing alligators and all these weird noises, and he was freaking out, and he had nothing out there, So But I suggest you do your own deep dive so you understand, and then maybe if you read about that experience and what that did, then read Ronnie's lyrics, who was one of the main lyricists of the band. You'll understand what that meant. Pull up a picture of.
Did you ever notice they had a lot of songs about alligators?
Oh, for sure. Cheap Trick had been Mr. My man that I can't pronounce. Cheap Trick had been releasing records for years before they hit it big, no doubt. Rockford, Illinois' favorite songs. And Rick Nielsen's still living in Rockford. And by the way, speaking of Cheap Trick, who the only concert I've ever been with, major concert, and probably, is that the only one in your life?
What?
When you and me went to Cheap Trick? Is that the only major concert you've ever been to?
Yeah, and that's the only one I ever will be to.
Okay, folks, for all of you that's hanging in there with us, and we
That
love
was
each
horrible.
and every one of you.
It was
Let's talk to them. Talk to them.
Nothing against
Me and
Cheap Trick.
Okay,
They
just
did
wait,
an amazing job.
wait.
It was a
So
lot of fun.
me and Jesy,
I mean, they were good.
Okay, wait.
They were really good.
Wait.
They were really good.
I talked Jesy
They
into
did a great job. They really did.
Okay, let me set the story up. I talked Jesy into going up to, was it? Yeah, it was Seneca Niagara Casino.
Wait. This is how he talked me into it, because I didn't want to go to the concert. He said, "We'll go to Niagara Falls too," because I've never been to Niagara Falls, even though we only live a couple hours away for my whole entire life. I've never been to Niagara Falls. And I thought, that'd be cool. Niagara Falls would be cool, but I don't want to go see the concert, but Niagara Falls would be cool. Okay, you talked me into it. Well, guess what? We never saw Niagara Falls.
Not even a
That
stitch.
was Timothy with his lifelong con artistry at work.
Oh, stop. But here's the best part of that story. So we get to the concert. We didn't have the greatest seats, but I mean, they weren't bad. And by the way, I must say, Cheap Trick,
they did.
Robin Zander, man.
They did a really good job.
For their age,
really good job.
Rick Nielsen's still throwing all the picks and the records and all that stuff. They've been doing that stuff for years. But Robin Zander can still sing.
Yeah, they did.
Like
they sang. Chant, man. They sang great.
I mean, they sounded great. I also saw them in this street. What's that thing they have in Erie, Pennsylvania? The thing where they close the street down in the summer.
Can't remember what it's called.
Well, I saw them there too.
Street concerts or something. I don't know.
I'm losing. There's a fantastic outtake of "I'm Losing You" by John Lennon with Cheap Trick. So check it out. I love Cheap Trick. I love Robin Zander.
John Lennon played with them?
No, an outtake. In other words, they did a cover of the song.
Oh.
It's by John Lennon, the song "I'm Losing You."
Okay, you said with. Okay, I didn't know.
But if you can find it, and I don't even know if it's even available on streaming services, it may be. Robin Zander has a solo record out that I highly recommend. It was really, and again, thank you, Michael Butler, the rock and roll geek. Who the F are you? That's his moniker. You are the one that turned me on to that Robin Zander solo record. He's a huge Cheap Trick fan too. And what are you both thankful for? It doesn't have to be Thanksgiving Day, does it? Can it be any time, right? Oh, no, it is. You're right. It's John Lennon with Cheap Trick. All right, cool. Wow, I'm going to have to look that up. Thank you. Hang on, I'm going to write that down. Wow. That's cool. John Lennon with Cheap Trick. Really? Wow. Thank you so much. I appreciate it, young man. This is what I love doing this for. That I have never heard before. See if you can pull it up. I'm Losing You.
Frank, I am thankful for every bit of God's creation. It's beautiful. Everything God created is absolutely beautiful. when I go outside and the sky and the clouds are ever changing as they're slowly passing by, and the birds are singing, and the dripping of the snow melting off the roof. The sound of that is beautiful. The breeze on my skin, the moisture in the air, the trees. It's beautiful.
Yeah, Surrender was huge, Appio. There's no doubt about that, young man. That was monstrous. Frank says he's thankful for my family and my friends and you two on live streaming. Well, thanks,
Thank
Frank.
you, Frank.
That's very sweet of you to say that. We
We're
appreciate
thankful
you being here.
For you and everyone else who joins us.
Yes, we're
very,
every
very
one of you,
thankful.
and this is what I love.
Thank you
know,
so
I mean,
much.
obviously we have some things in common. I'm not a musical expert. I'm not. I haven't gone to the Berklee School of Music or anything like that. I'm no professor of music. It's just something I enjoy, and it's something that helps me through this life. What I'm thankful for today, as someone who has struggled with addiction issues for a long stretch of my adult life, I'm sober today, and that's what I'm thankful for. And I'm also thankful for this young lady right here. She has been a godsend to me. God put her in my life for a reason. I know I've tortured her. She used to be a young, vibrant, unlined faced young lady, and now look at her. She's the mediocre looking Jesy Jones. And it's all my fault. I did it.
Wow. Wow.
My dad likes Lawrence Welk. Oh yeah, Lawrence Welk. How can you go wrong with Lawrence Welk? You can't go wrong with that.
What
didn't
type
see
of
it.
music does Lawrence Welk?
It's like big band.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that sounds cool.
But I'm so thankful for her, and I'm so thankful that even though I don't know, the jury's out in my mind about this whole internet thing, and if it's good or bad or whatever, if it's corrupting the world, I don't know. I'm not that smart, but this part of it I love, and I love that we're given this opportunity to spend some time. It may not be a lot of time, but once a week we can get together. We may have a theme, but we don't have to talk about that. We can talk about, just today, just learning about, John Lennon playing with Cheap Trick. That is amazing. So, I mean, to me, that's what.
Oh,
that's
did you see who's here?
Who?
Dale Aikens.
Oh!
Yay!
How come my chat is not?
Hi, Dale.
Why is my chat not working on my phone? I don't know.
This must be frozen. How's Dale? Welcome.
How do you get the chat? Oh, there we go. Dale! Yeah, she got on camera. But Dale, remember, it's just the mediocre looking Jesy Jones. She does not like to be called beautiful or anything like that. So but I'm
I don't have to respond
Dale,
to that.
Dale, what are you? So Dale,
don't encourage him, Dale.
Dale, we're talking about Lynyrd Skynyrd. We're talking about Lynyrd Skynyrd tonight. So Dale, I'm going to put you on the spot. We need to know, what is your favorite Lynyrd Skynyrd song, and if you write Freebird, I'm going to be disappointed in you, young man. What's your name in '77? And you was in a decent bar. This played on the jukebox. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Take away my fun. Yeah, exactly. I knew where you were going, Dale. I knew you'd say Freebird. So I know you and everybody else in this planet. So come on, dig deep, Dale. I know you know who the band Lynyrd Skynyrd is. There's got to be one song that you can remember that you enjoy. So fire away, Dale. Folks, everybody in the chat that's joining us tonight, this is Dale Aikens' moment. He's a budding YouTube celebrity star, folks. Remember that name, Dale Aikens, from the great state of Pennsylvania. He's an up and comer, and he's going to now announce one of his favorite Lynyrd Skynyrd songs. So take the
already a
stage.
star on
I know.
Discord, right?
Well, yeah.
Discord, right?
Don't, yeah, for table games.
Yeah, that's cool.
I know.
That's awesome.
Okay. Come on, Dale. Let's go now. What is it? Fire away. I can hear the keyboard typing. Come on. What is it, Dale? We're waiting. But no, that's what makes music so special. Give me 3 steps. There you
Oh
go.
my gosh,
Boom. That's
yeah.
a great one. Somebody yelled
So
out
many.
Freebird at Bob Dylan concert, and the band started to play the first few bars. Exactly. I think
Aw.
Simple Man is another great one, Dale.
Dale
I mean,
says, I guess I could listen to Simple Man.
Wait a minute. You'd be playing my theme song, Dale, so take it easy. Simple Man. Simple Man.
I'm not sure if they meant simple in that way.
Oh, I know they did. That's not what they meant in that way, but that's the way I take it. That's the great thing about music. We can all put our own spin on what it actually means. That is funny, and I think Freebird is like. Have you guys ever seen those videos where guys go into the music stores or like guitar centers and like. Freebird is definitely one of those ones. That's a no-no. Don't play that when you go in and like want to try out a guitar. Don't start that lick. It's like Stairway to Heaven, and they'll throw you right out. They're like, no, really. Or like Smoke on the Water by Deep Purple. That's another one. Don't go in there and do that. So that's interesting though. That's great. And I mean that's the power of that song. I mean it's crazy. And I still get goosebumps when the last time I watched that Freebird the movie, or no, it was Southern by the Grace of God, that reunion tour where Johnny Van Zant just hangs Ronnie's actual hat on the mic stand and they dim all the lights and the band just plays that song. That is powerful. And that's what's great about music. I mean, how can you not like that? To have that kind of power without anybody singing, with no house lights, everything's dark, and they're just playing the song, and you know exactly, so that plane crash, October 20th, 1977, outside of it was in Louisiana somewhere. They were going from Greenville, South Carolina to Baton Rouge, Louisiana. It was tragic. It was a tragedy, but we lost Ronnie. Rest in peace, Ronnie. We know you're resting in peace. We know that you got that right. That's another great song. Rest in peace, Ronnie. But here's the thing: the words that he formed out of his experience in life and he put into music. Which, by the way, this young lady sitting next to me right here, she has a very unique talent to be able to take things that have happened in her life and turn it into beautiful music and help her to become a better person. And I've watched it and markedly been very jealous because I don't have that gift that she has, but that's the power of this thing called music, and that's what I find so special about it.
Music is healing.
It is.
Can be healing.
It is for sure.
Especially when you're creating it. Create it.
And the great thing is
sometimes listening to it. Beautiful music.
Well, for sure, because the great thing is there's no right or wrong. There's no wrong chord. There's no wrong note. It's like painting. Some people, we might look at things and say, ooh, that's crazy. But another person, it may affect them in a different way and be special. So that's the greatest. I mean, how can you go wrong? Where the one thing I do understand, though, is you have to have some guts because you're laying yourself out there, especially if you're going to try to go public with it. And if it's not just something that you play in your house or you play for your kids or something like that, you got to be a special person to be able to take that, and especially when you're laying yourself out there. So
you know what I liked about Lynyrd Skynyrd?
What did you like?
aside from all their hits, and Appio keeps saying more and more in every song. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's a good one. That's a good one. They had so many good songs, but that they had a distinct sound
Oh, for sure.
that you really couldn't compare with really any. I mean, was there anybody you could really compare to them?
You know, there was some other Florida bands. The Outlaws had. Oh, we have the man, the legend, Cobra AF22 is in the house. Holy, can you sing us a part of a Skynyrd song?
Oh yes, he can.
Now you got me on. Now you got me on the. He used to play an old dobro.
Sing Freebird.
No, I'm not singing Freebird. Thank you for joining us, Cobra. That young man means so much to me. I'm so thankful for you being here and you taking the time to spend a couple minutes with us. We know you're a busy man.
Thank you, Cobra.
I appreciate you being
Welcome.
here. You know, Lynyrd Skynyrd, that was the thing. I mean, Ronnie lived that life and then put it into words. And then, of course, all his buddies, all these guys that grew up on undoubtedly kind of the wrong side of the track, so to speak, in Jacksonville, they turned it into something and they hit a note in America because they just exploded. So let's go back to when Ed King left the band in '75. The story goes that he got in an argument with Ronnie Van Zant. What?
See, how does Curtis Lowe go?
He used to play an old dobro. He used to lay across his.
Sing it. Wait, I used to wake the morning, right? Remember?
Yeah. Before the rooster crowed,
there you go.
I'd collect up old soda bottles to get myself some dough, take it to the front porch, or take it to the local store. That's how it went, remember?
Sing it.
I'm not going to sing it, Cat.
Yeah.
I don't want to embarrass Cobra, man. He's an important man, so we can't.
He asked you to sing.
I know.
If I could...
I'm not. I just remember the part where he goes, he used to own an old dobro and play it across his knee. So
I give it.
I give my money to Curtis Lowe.
He'd play all day for me.
And he'd play all day for me. How does that? I can't
play
think
all
of.
day for me.
Pull it up and play again.
Okay, we're gonna pull it up so we can sing it.
We're gonna pull up the Ballad of Curtis Lowe, which is undoubtedly another great song that Jesy loves from.
That's my favorite.
Well, I think that and All I Can Do Is Write About It is another big favorite of hers that she's played a lot when we played music. But while she's looking for that,
sing it.
He looked to be
Right.
60 and maybe I was 10. Mama used to whoop me, but I'd go see him again. I clap my hand. I clap my hand and stop. Yeah.
Before the rooster
crowed, searching for soda bottles to get myself some dough. Brought them down to the corner and down to the country store. Cash them in and give my money to a man named Curtis Lowe. Old Kurt was a black man with white curly hair. When he had a fifth of wine, he did not have a care. He used to own an old dobro, used to play across his knee. I give old Kurt my money and he'd play all day for me. That's a great song. And that's a good question, young man. I did originally have that Street Survivors record, and again, that's another story. They put out Street Survivors in '77 as they were before they started touring, during the plane crash. It had them all the band members in flames, ironically, if you can believe that. And then the crash happened, and the crash happened in October 20th, 1977. And then the record company and the family asked them to pull the cover, pull the records, and then they redid it and re-released it. So if you have a copy and it's in pristine shape, I guarantee you're sitting on a good chunk of dough that you can take to Curtis Lowe and he'll play all day for you too as well. I guarantee you.
Here's another one.
No, I'm not gonna. I'm not. Just play it if you want to play it. Let Ronnie sing
you're
it.
allowed to play
You
it.
can
Sing
play it, Gag.
Sing it.
Give me back my bullets. Put them back where they belong. Ain't fooling around 'cause I done had my fun. Ain't gonna see no more damage done. Give me back my bullets. And by the way, folks, if you don't know what that song about, it's not about guns. It's not about violence. Bullets back in the day with the old trade magazine, which was, man, I can't think of that magazine. Bullets meant when they gave you a bullet, that meant that your song was rising on the charts. And that's what that song was about, because they were kind of had been, going through a transition. So when they put that song out, he was saying, give me back my bullets. I want my song to go back to number one. They'd had a lot of success. It's not about guns. So there you go, folks. You heard it here on Music Meltdown with Timothy Lee.
Here's one for Dale. Boy, don't you worry. Sing. You'll find us.
That's too high for me. I can't sing that one. Or we're gonna give you some words from Simple Man. Or be a simple kind of man, or be something you love and understand, baby. Be a simple kind of man, or won't you do this for me, son, if you can? Oh, yes, I will. And there you go. I mean, that's a great song. And again, he wrote that with his grandmother, inspiring him.
Right here.
Look at Dale. Don't start, Dale. Don't start.
Dale.
Because I'm already
Dale,
never gonna live this down.
Dale, thank you.
Dale, we're so thankful. Cobra, Frank,
We'll get him to say it.
Appio, Mr. I'm not sure how to say that name. Rick Sarver, Frank, we appreciate you're all here with us. We're having a really good time. So
we do. Sing it. Mama told me when I was young.
Come sit beside me, my only son, and listen closely to what I say. And if you do this, it'll help you some sunny day.
Some sunny day.
Yeah, you sing it. You're a better singer than I am.
You're scared.
Hey, I sing with my kids when it's on the radio. Good for you, and you should do that. Everybody out there in YouTube land, you should do that. Get involved with the kids. Let's keep this thing alive. We're the last bastions of hope, because do you want your kids really to be thinking Taylor Swift is music? Really? Is that where we're going?
Hey.
Is that really what?
Hey. It's okay. I mean, everybody's got their thing. But
let's keep music. Okay, I'm going to put something out there. We've been talking about Lynyrd Synyrd. I'm putting my notes down, but I was talking with the beautiful head of JJP Productions, Jesy Jones Production, the one and only, the mediocre looking Jesy.
Can you use a different adjective to describe me?
I was having a discussion today with the head of JJP Productions, Jesy Jones Production, the plain looking, the great Jesy Jones. Okay, I know. Stop. So I was talking. I was talking with her this afternoon, and we were talking about music, and I have a subscription. This is an unpaid advertisement, so don't start haranguing me. I haven't sold out to the gods of the music business these days, but I have a subscription to Sirius Radio, and they have these things like 70s on 7 and 80s on 8. And, I thought as I was listening to the music from like the 70s, it was it was it was like a gentler kind of music. I mean, they had the undertones. Don't get me wrong. I'm not sitting here saying that they didn't have the dark side of music and the drug and all and the sex and all that. But they cleverly veiled everything. It wasn't right in your face like this frightening face in your face right now on your big TVs. Okay. But then in the 80s, it became about excess and more. And so then, you got into the, 19 keyboard players in one band and the layers of production and the slickness and everything had kind of lost its simple tone to it. And then you get into the 90s and the grunge, and then you get, oh yeah, Cream, for sure, no doubt.
Yeah.
Anybody out there remember music mags like Cream? For sure, no doubt about it. But then when you got into the 90s...
Wait. What's the music mag like Queen? What's that?
Cream.
A magazine?
Yeah, it's a magazine. And they would have nothing but articles about rock and roll and...
Describe it for those of us that are a little bit younger.
It was like a People magazine for music. And it would talk about the bands and have like kind of like paparazzi pictures. And what was the name of the guy? Lester Bangs, I believe, was from Cream magazine. Was that Cream? For those of you familiar with the movie Almost Famous, that was a true story of Cameron Crowe's life. Cameron Crowe used to be married to Nancy Wilson, the guitar player and one of the sisters from Heart, and he started writing for Rolling Stone when he was 16 years old. He had first met Lester Bangs, who was part of, I believe it was Cream magazine. Anybody out there in the chat? Can somebody fact check me on that? Yeah, Lester Bangs, Cream, exactly. And he started this magazine, and it covered music, and it's what you went to the 7-Eleven, or I think it was White Hen Pantry where I lived in Chicago, but wherever your local little store was, and you got the Cream magazine for the month, and then and it talked about Zeppelin, and it talked about it had stuff for the girls because the Robert Plant and Jimmy Page and all the rock stars that everybody loved at the time. And then it also had stuff for the guys, if there was any women involved. And it was kind of like a rag magazine, for lack of a better term. And by the way, Cream, I mean, obviously everybody knows about Rolling Stone magazine. And don't get me started.
What's a rag magazine?
Like a tabloid magazine.
Oh, okay.
But that also, the thing great about Cream magazine and somewhat Rolling Stone is that's how I got into tape trading in the late 70s and the early 80s, where I met people from England because they would put their addresses on the back of, and I believe it was Cream magazine, I might stand corrected, but it was Cream magazine. And then that's how I got into tape trading, and that's how I learned about bands like, Iron Maiden and
What's tape trading? What was tape trading?
Tape trading was where I would send a letter to a guy in England, and he would say, hey, I have these new bands. Now, in America, they had domestic released records and import. Now, domestic release record, you could go to the record store and buy it for $3 or $4, $2. But an import record would cost you like 10 or 11, which was an astronomical amount of money then. So he would say, hey, I have these bands that are big in England right now. Mine was like Iron Maiden, Saxon, Def Leppard. These were all import records. They weren't being sold domestically in America yet.
Oh.
So he would put them on a cassette tape and then send me the cassette. And then he'd be like, hey, what records do you have in America? Is there any? Tell me ones you like. And then I would send him a cassette back.
Oh, that's neat.
Yeah, you're right. I definitely remember Rolling Stone having that classified section for tape trading, and that that was a huge thing. I did that for probably 4 or 5 years. There was several, probably 5 or 6 people that I traded tapes with. And I mean, I definitely remember the new wave of British heavy metal in the late 78, 79. And Iron Maiden is the one that stands out. I'll never forget the first time I heard that. I'm like, what is this? Who are these guys? I had no idea. They were nobody in America at that point. So, and look, here we are in 2024, almost 2025, and they're still doing it. By the way, congratulations, Nico McBrain. He just retired from Iron Maiden. He said at, how old is he? He was like 7. I mean, I know he had just had a stroke recently, but he played these last gigs. He just retired from touring as their drummer, now being taken over by the drummer from British Lions, Steve Harris, the bass player's other band. But uh, bless you, brother. Thank you for all those years, man. You are one amazing dude and one crazy rock and roll drummer. So enjoy your retirement. You deserved it. I know you're going to still be in the Iron Maiden camp and still have stuff to do with that band, but bless you, brother. Thank you for all those years. That guy was a warrior. Even back in the days when you played with Pat Travers, you were a monster. So bless you, brother. Have a happy retirement. You earned it. That's, I don't know. I'm not an expert in this, folks, but that's what I love about music. And unfortunately, like I said, I mean, yeah, it's easy. I can access all this, on my phone or my computer or I mean, like my tablet here real quick. But uh, what Cobra asked, what did you think of 38 Special? Banging, great. The 4 from Rockin' On Through the Night, Special Delivery through I can't remember what the name of the record was, but the one with Rock and Roll Strategy and when Max Carl joined the band. I think you might have heard me play that music once or twice, sir. Do you know me, Cobra? I'm not Cobra AF22. I think you know who I am, and I think you might have heard that getting played because I know I wore the grooves. I know I wore the grooves off some, especially Wild Eyed Southern Boys. That was, I believe, 81, 80, 81. I know you heard that before. So, no, I love them. And that's Donnie Van Zandt. Again, I always thought.
I feel your pain, Cobra.
Excuse me? What pain? Yeah, 1981. There you go. Yep. That was. That was some that was a great. I'm thankful to have those memories. I mean, I unfortunately was not blessed to have a gift to be able to play music, but I could put it on a record player or a tape player.
Play it.
No, I
like
can't.
This.
Yeah, exactly. Here's my way to play music. Start. That's what I'm best at. Now this young lady, the multi-talented, the head check writer, the production manager, the set designer, the gaff, the taxi driver, the director, the editor, the one and only Jesy Jones.
Idea.
And the
idea material.
Painfully plain looking Jesy Jones guy. But we're thankful for all of you for joining us. This is what, I again, I'm not going into no Tim diatribe about if the internet is good or bad for this world, but to be able to do this, I've talked to her. I'm a big listener of podcasts. Unfortunately, I'm not one of those.
It's good and it's bad.
Okay,
there are good things, there are bad things about everything. Everything good and beautiful gets exploited by bad things. But bad things can also work toward the good.
I'm not going there. I'm not saying. I'm just saying that I'm thankful for this because we've talked about this before, and I enjoy doing this. And Cobra AF22 will tell you there's times where you just have to say gotta go, and then do the Tim way of music and go off.
Speaking of tapes, do you remember when tapes, like the tape player would get goofed up and then it would eat the tape?
Yes, very, very much so. And then you would spend hours trying to like use a pencil to put it in there and go, "Can I save it? I gotta save it."
Because suddenly the music would go, and it would make a funny noise, and then it would like in the thing because it was eating the tape, and then you'd pull it out.
Yes.
You'd pull it out. And then you would spend hours, well, maybe not hours, but you take the pencil and wind it back. And then you know what you would do?
What?
Put it back in the same tape player and try it again.
Exactly.
Sometimes you would wipe it and clean it with some alcohol cotton swabs.
Frank says my dad has lots of music records. That's cool. Good for you, Frank. It was definitely a thing. So Cobra AF22, what are some music you remember as a young child? Or say like a teenager, what was some of your favorite music? No, you're right, Jess. It was crazy, like tape to tape. I remember reel to reel, like the Kowals. My friends, the Kowals, would have a reel to reel player, and I was like, man, that's so cool. And it was, you know what a reel to reel is? The big tapes that they were like this big, and then there was two of them.
I don't remember that. That was before my time.
The Doobie Brothers, man, you cannot go wrong with minute by minute and What a Fool Believes. Boy, listened to a lot of that music, didn't we? Yes, sir. What about remember like Ambrosia and I'm trying. No, seriously. Outside of the Doobie Brothers, Cobra, what was some of your favorite music? I don't think so. What was some of the other ones outside of the Doobie Brothers? Remember Chicago? Remember like Saturday in the Park? That's what I remember a lot. I remember that quite a bit. So yeah, Earth, Wind, and Fire, man. Serpentine Fire, boy. I remember that. I remember that a lot, boy.
Frank?
Yeah. Is that an 8-track cassette?
The big one? Is that what you're talking
about? No. The big one is reel to reel, but 8-track. She was talking about just the regular cassette tapes, right? Not the, the small, thin ones. The 8-tracks were the big, like, cartridges.
Yeah, Earth, Wind, and Fire. They had a lot of good ones, didn't they?
Earth, Wind, and Fire, that brings back a lot of... So, getting back to our topic, which, it doesn't really matter at this point because we're having fun.
What were some of the Earth, Wind, and Fire?
Serpentine Fire. Do you remember... I knew you were gonna put me on the spot. I can't.
What was the genre?
Like R&B.
Oh yeah.
Philip Bailey and Maurice White, rest in peace.
Okay. Yeah.
So in 1975, when Ed King, the California boy of, let's start out with the great Ed King story about the road. So again, he was in the Strawberry Alarm Clock, which was a famous 60s band. They'd had, I believe, a #1 hit. I could stand corrected, but I believe it was a #1 hit. And so he already had success in the music, and he had a little money. Again, these are some redneck Jacksonville, Florida boys. So it was a little bit of a chasm in the van when he was in there with all these long-haired Florida boys, and here's this guy here's this kind of nerdy dude from California. So when they would go out on the road and they were in the band, he would always buy all these like, like I don't know what they were called. I don't. It wasn't Slim Jims, but like that kind of like beef sticks and all these little snacks and everything. And then he would sell them to the other band members while they were in the band because they'd all be starving. And he had money because he had already had some success, and he would sell it. And they hated him for that. So that was a great story. I love that. I believe that's in Freebird the movie. I'm not sure exactly where I saw that, but that was a really, really funny story about Ed King. But in 75, he leaves the band, or in late 75, maybe early 76. And the story goes that he started squabbling with Ronnie because one night, Ronnie, and again, like I said, by 75 and 76, they were running hard, if you know what I mean. They were drinking hard, partying hard, hardcore narcotics had come in the band, and they were running strong. I mean, they were famous, no doubt about it. They were huge, but they were living that life. And Ed King gets in a squabble with Ronnie one night due to the fact that Ronnie and his guitar roadie got arrested. So they had a show, I believe I think it was the next day or that same day, I'm not exactly sure. Ronnie gets out because obviously he's the lead singer of the band, but the roadie is still in jail and could not make the show. And so Ed King that night played really bad, quote unquote, because he couldn't keep his guitar in tune and he had all these broken strings. And I can only assume he didn't know how to change strings on his own guitar. He had to have the roadie do it. I don't know. That's kind of the way they made it sound. I'm not exactly sure. Obviously I'm not an expert. I wasn't there. But then, so he got really mad at Ronnie. He said, that's it. And he quit and he went back to California, believing that it was all Ronnie's fault because his roadie. But what happened was after the show, Ronnie started giving Ed King a hard time and saying, dude, man, you suck. Why were you playing so bad? And he believed it was all because Ronnie had got his guitar roadie, his guitar tech arrested. And so it was all his fault. Ed packed up and went back to California. And this was a monstrous change for the band, and one in which, and it's sad, we're only left with one record, but there's a man in the history and the lore of this band, Lynyrd Skynyrd. His name is Steve Gaines. I'm sure you all know who Steve Gaines is. If you don't,
who's Steve Gaines?
Steve Gaines was Cassie Gaines, one of the Honkettes, or the backup singers. Frank says, the first song I heard when I was growing up was Spike Jones. My dad was always listening to that music, but now I listen to other music too. Cool. Thanks, Frank. Yeah, gotcha. Totally understandable, man. Good for you, Frank. Keep listening to that music. It'll always do the soul good. So keep it up, Frank. We're glad you're here with us, Frank. So Cassie Gaines was one of the Honkettes, as well as Dale Krantz, which that's what they called the backup singer girls.
The Honkettes.
The Honkettes. Honkettes.
Who called the backup singer?
That's what the band called them. That's what they were called. Lynyrd Skynyrd.
Oh, okay.
And Ed King goes back to LA. And again, at this point, they are solidified as a 3-guitar band. So they needed a third guitarist. And Cassie had said to Ronnie, hey, you should give my brother a look. And so they went out to Oklahoma. They met Steve Gaines, and it was magic. And Steve Gaines only played on the one record, Street Survivors. Again, the one that we talked about that had them all standing in flames. He was a great writer as well. He wrote his own song. He's the only one credited on this song, and it's called I Know a Little. And if you're familiar with Street Survivors, you've heard that song. I know a little about it.
I know a little about love.
I know a little about love.
Here, let's.
So he wrote, he was the only credited writer on I Know a Little, as well as Ain't No Good Life. And he was also a half contributor with him and Ronnie with You Got That Right, which is another great song.
Maybe I can guess the rest.
Exactly. Say I know a little about it. I know a little about love. And baby, I can guess the rest. That's a great song. And that's a Steve Gaines song alone. He's the only credited writer on that song. So he obviously wrote all the music and the lyrics to that song. So the guy was multi-talented. Ronnie or Gary Rossington is quoted as saying he could take a bottle cap and just flick it like 50 feet, man. I mean, the guy had hands and fingers.
He had all the parlor tricks.
All the what?
Parlor tricks.
Parlor tricks?
Wasn't that when you flick a bottle cap? Isn't that a parlor trick?
What's a parlor? A parlor trick? Oh, I guess. I don't. Maybe a bar trick, but I don't know about a parlor trick. What, a funeral parlor?
No, the bars are called parlors, or were called parlors or something.
Oh, I don't know. Could be, but I mean, he just had magic hands, and some of the standout tracks from that record. Obviously, those are the three I picked out.
Funeral parlor. What would be a funeral parlor?
The interesting thing about
Wow.
I don't know.
You took us to a dark place fast.
Well, I don't know anything called a parlor, so I don't. What do I know? I don't know. I didn't say it. You did. But let's get back onto the topic. Let me get this out of my brain before my old man brain forgets it all.
It got dark.
So,
quick.
Street Survivors.
It got dark.
The interesting thing about that record that some of you out there, whoever,
dark.
okay, I got it. Hang in there. Calm down. I don't know how many of you are left with us tonight, but if anybody's left with us, here's an interesting thing about Street Survivors. This is 1977, by the way.
If anybody hasn't left us,
they actually recorded that record twice. The first time at Criteria Studios, Studio One Criteria Studios in Miami, Florida, with Tom Dowd behind the knobs producing the record, and they did the whole record, and then they went back again and did the whole record again in Doraville, Georgia, at Studio One with the great Kevin Ellison and Rodney Mills of 38 Special fame. A parlor trick is, here we go. We got it. Here's what a parlor trick is. A parlor trick is a clever performance or act that is usually intended to entertain a small audience in a casual setting. Parlor tricks often involve sleight of hand or illusion.
Perfect. Thank you.
So I guess flicking a bottle cap is a parlor trick. Yeah. What do I know? Look at that. Perfect. Let the young. That's why she's the boss, folks. That's why she's cutting that check with lots of zeros. The only problem is on the left side of the decimal, it's a 0 too. Nobody got the joke. Anyhow, especially her. So
please explain the joke.
0.0000.
Wait, what,
I said you're the one that cuts all the check, and I said except there's a 0 on the left side of the decimal, so 0.0. And there you go. There you go. There you go. High five, kid.
Good one.
So that's a really weird thing, and I didn't actually know that until I was researching this, that they recorded that record in as a whole twice. Once at Criteria Studios in Miami with the great Tom Dowd, by the way. If you don't know who Tom Dowd is, his son did a great documentary about him. I highly suggest you watch it. I'm sure it's available either on YouTube, right here on YouTube, or
how do you say that?
Tom Dowd, Dowd. I think it's called like the Wizard of Sound or something like that. I don't remember what the name. Can you look it up? Tom Dowd, a documentary of Tom Dowd. Just see what the title is. But I highly recommend, if you're out there and you're watching this, that you listen to that. That's an amazing. The guy, there's a lot of records you listened to and you wore the grooves out of that he had a lot to do with. So Allman Brothers being one, but many.
Tom
The
Dowd
language
and the
of
language
music.
of
Tom
music.
Dowd in the Language of Music from 2003. I highly, highly recommend that.
Who was Tom Dowd?
Tom
again?
Dowd was a record producer who worked with every
Lynyrd Skynyrd, apparently.
Yes, he
Right?
did. Well, he did some with Lynyrd Skynyrd, but like Derek and the Dominoes, the Allman Brothers. It's a list of. Do a. Tom Dowd produced "Give Me Back My Bullets," so there you go, that record.
Oh, okay.
But
There
they actually recorded that record twice. The second time they went in like a month later and did it all over again with Doraville, Georgia, at Studio One with the great Kevin Ellison and the great Rodney Mills, who, by the way, Rodney Mills was the producer for that great band 38 Special and Ronnie's younger brother Donnie Van Zandt. So this is why I want your email address, because all my neighbors are decorating outside their house and I can send you pictures that way, because look how that's beautiful, Frank. We'll get it to you, Frank.
Really sweet.
We'll get it to you. Should I just put it in there? Or?
We'll put it on the channel.
Okay, go in the description of the channel, Frank.
It's not there yet.
It's not going to be there yet, but we'll get it up there here at some point, either tonight or tomorrow. So just look for it in the information on the channel. I don't want to put it in the chat. I don't even know if I'm supposed to do that or allowed to do that, but we'll get it up there in the information of the channel. So look on the main where it says more info about the channel, and we'll get it there for you, Frank. That's really sweet of you, and we really appreciate those pictures. That would be very nice of you, and thank you so much, Frank. So they did that record twice, and okay.
We'll find it, I'm sure.
We'll find it. Yeah,
somewhere.
we'll find it, Frank. Thank you. So they did that record twice, and Steve Gaines comes aboard, and I think the biggest thing that I took out of this research, in outside of the Timism stories that I knew about Lynyrd Skynyrd and stuff from my talks with John Brusha, rest in peace, John. Thank you so much for all your production work on Freebird the movie. That was an amazing piece of work. Is that, well, again, going back, they were hard driving, they were partying, y'all know what I mean, and things were getting, the train was obviously getting ready to come off the tracks. Alan Collins had been in a serious car accident. Gary Rossington had been in a serious car accident, and that song, and the man Prince Charming in What's That Smell was Gary Rossington. He was talking about him because he wrapped I believe it was a Camaro around an oak tree. So they were coming off the tracks. They were coming, and they got caught in the game, and that was the lifestyle then. That's what everybody thought was rock and roll. But in 1976, Melody was born to Judy and Ronnie Van Zant, and that really changed Ronnie's life. Ronnie really started to get his act together, and he realized he had a daughter, and so he started to get sober and get himself cleaned up. And then, with the influx of this new blood with Steve Gaines, they were on fire. The beginning, what parts of the Street Survivors tour that happened, all reports are, and all the videos I've watched here on the great YouTube, and there's a bunch of them out there, especially one from Asbury Park in New Jersey. That's a great one in black and white. It's not the greatest film, but it's strong stuff, man. They were killing it, and Ronnie was on fire. There was new blood in the band, and he was sober, and man, they were smoking hot. And so, but the thing that I caught, and we're not going to end it quite yet, but I am going to end my Lynyrd Skynyrd discussion with this. Ronnie was publicly and privately quoted as saying to the band and everybody, and whether it be to writers and to the in-house people in the band and all the crew, that Steve Gaines, the band would all someday be in the shadow. He said the band would all be in his shadow someday. Or he would, excuse me, let me try that again. Ronnie was quoted as saying the band would all be in his shadow one day. And that's high praise from Ronnie Van Zant. Ronnie knew how special he was. He had the songwriting gift. The guy could shred, if you want to call it that back then. He could shred on the guitar. He could sing. He was the package. He had the kind of wild, look that, even though he was an Okie from Muskogee and they were Florida boys from Jacksonville, he could fit right in with them, and he was going toe to toe with Gary and Alan at the time. And I'm telling you that, please, I implore you to go on the great YouTube and find those videos from that 77 tour. I mean, they were smoking hot, and they were riding the wave, and they were getting ready to really hit the stratosphere. Unfortunately, as you all know, on October 20th, 1977, they were leaving Greenville, South Carolina, heading to Baton Rouge, Louisiana. You all know the story. The pilot, they had said that they had said that they didn't think the plane was that good. They've been having issues with the plane. I'm not going to go into the minutia of it. You all know the story. Another person that you might want to look up is Gene Odom, their roadman, one of the people that was involved with the band. But tragically, in that crash on October 20th, 1977, Ronnie Van Zant lost his life. Steve Gaines lost his life. His sister, Cassie Gaines, lost her life. And Dean Kilpatrick, who was their head road crew or road manager, lost his life in that crash. And, for a long time, they were never the same. Ironically, it was 10 years before Lynyrd Skynyrd came back in 1987 with Johnny Van Zant. And again, at that point, Alan Collins had health issues from all the car crash and everything. He was in a wheelchair, so Randall King stood in for him and played his part. But and I highly recommend that record. Check out Southern by the Grace of God. That's the name of it. That was a great tour. There's a great intro by, "Hi, my name is Lacey Van Zant, Ronnie Van Zant, Donnie Van Zant, and Johnny Van Zant's daddy." That's how that record starts out, and that's a great. What happened? That's a great. It just said reconnected.
Oh, I wonder why.
That's a really great record.
How long do you think it was off?
I don't know. But it was tragedy, but in came there was good that came out of it. But I'm so thankful for the Van Zant family. I'm so thankful for the music. Sadly, let's go through. I think I have some of the days. So, and then you all know the story of Billy Powell. Billy Powell was not. They originally did not have a keyboard player. He was working as a roadie, and they were like, "Hey, he knows how to play piano," and the rest is history. So, Alan Collins passed away. Rest in peace, Alan, on January 23rd, 1990. Gary Rossington passed away on March 5th, 2023. Obviously, Ronnie passed away in 77. Steve Gaines in 77, 10/20/77. Leon Wilkinson, the bass player, passed away on July 27, 2001. And Billy Powell, the keyboard player, passed away on 1/28/2009. So you know, unfortunately, all the original members are gone. Rest in peace to everyone, and my condolence. I mean, they don't need my condolences, but you know, blessings to all their families and all those affected by all this. Um, the music will be with us forever. It can never be taken away from us. So, you know, I highly suggest, and I know most of you who've been with us throughout this night have listened to that music. If you haven't, go back through the catalog and just listen to the raw emotion, and you know, you can know
Catalog. Oh, catalog.
Lynyrd Skynyrd, like all the records.
Yeah, you wouldn't, and if you've never heard of Lynyrd Skynyrd before, you should. You probably won't be disappointed, because they didn't just have one or two good songs. They weren't one-hit wonders. They didn't just have a good record. They had many good records and many good songs. Did they have a lot of records?
Oh well, yeah, but I really recommend the first five. Pronounce Lynyrd Skynyrd.
That is a lot.
Second helping. Nothing fancy.
How many records did they have?
They got a ton of them, but let me finish. Pronounce Lynyrd Skynyrd. Second helping. Nothing fancy. Give Me Back My Bullets and Street Survivors, and then One More for the Road, which is a live record. That's the original band. That's Lynyrd Skynyrd. Everything after that, you know, take it for what it is. I mean, Ricky Medlock came back, and then, you know, and then all the side projects, the Rossington Collins Band, which was they had some hits. The Rossington Collins Band had a bunch of hits, so you know there was a lot of side projects. Billy Powell played some Christian music.
Much better.
But you know, check out all the catalog and all the side projects and everybody that went with us. We want to thank everybody who's joined us tonight. We're going to wrap this up. We're approaching 2 hours.
Holy cow. Look at that.
Yeah, I know. There's a ton of music.
So they went from...
But see, this is the original band. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then everything after that is just like some of the members were gone, you know, dead. And so it's the first 5. And then after that, it's not really the same.
Oh.
So
when did he die?
Right there. That was released on October 17th, 1977, and the plane crash was on October 20th, 1977.
Oh.
So 3 days after Street Survivors was released, that was when the plane crash was, and then it all went bye-bye. So, you know, blessings to everybody, you know, and all the side projects, all the families, all the kids who lost their parents, and, you know, but let's be thankful for all the music they left us. We thank you for joining us all tonight. Me and Jesy have had a great time.
It was really nice to see you all again.
And thank you, Frank, for being us.
For being here
Watch Frank.
Us.
Look on the.
Good to see you come back.
Look on the Appio, Mr. M, everybody, Dale Akins, Cobra AF, Rick Sarver. Thank you so much for joining us all. We really appreciate it. Join us next Thursday as we're approaching the Music Meltdown Christmas special. And no, we're not playing Christmas music. We're not even talking about Christmas music. Because now you don't hear music like Christmas music after Thanksgiving. You hear it like before Halloween. Because Halloween is Thanksgiving. And Thanksgiving is Christmas. And Christmas is a New Year's. Anyways, I digress. We'll definitely throw in some Christmas. We hope you all have a safe week. We hope you have a week full of joy. We hope that everything is peaceful and good in your world. We're thankful for Frank and everybody who goes out there and helps those in need. And remember, if you're down and out, if you're having a bad day, find some music. It might just be the thing that'll change your mindset. or play some music.
Pick up an instrument.
Yeah, pick up an instrument, play a piano,
Or
play
pick
guitar,
up some drumsticks.
or
Go to an instrument.
sing with the angelic voice that is
Or sing, yeah,
Jesy,
sing if you
Jesy Jones.
would rather sing. Because music, creating music,
And most of all,
will definitely brighten your day.
we thank God for keeping us safe and keeping us sane and protecting us in this crazy world in which we live in. And we again thank all of you for joining us. God bless you all. Have a great evening. Have a great week. Let's continue to keep music alive. And let's always, say it with me, Jesy, keep music, or no, I don't even know. Let's try this. 1, 2, 3. Keep it loud.
And that's your line.
Keep it loud.
And
Thank you very much, everybody. Bless you. Have a great week.
boom!
Oh, yeah. We got to give it. Boom.
Boom.
Night, everybody. Have a great evening. Have a great week.
Bye, everybody. See you next week. Other side.